Today we are updating all things ammunition for 7 Days to Die Alpha 19. Now we've got a lot of info to cover and no time to waste, so let's get to it. Recently, I released a video talking about ammunition. We took a look at the 9mm, the 7.62, and the .44 ammo. And we discovered that unfortunately the ammo was not working the way it was intended. However, I did not touch base on any of the other ammo types. So today, we're going to take a look at the other ammunition types in 7 Days to Die. We're going to test them against unarmored entities, as well as heavily armored entities, and see how they work against each type. But first, let's take a look at the ammo that we're going to be dealing with today. Let's start off with the shotgun ammo. There are 3 types of shotgun ammo in 7 Days to Die. You have your standard shotgun shell. This ammo type deals 11 damage per pellet, has a total of 10 pellets, deals 5 block damage per pellet, and has a very short effective range of only 5 blocks. It also increases the target's armor by 40%, so these should not be very effective against armored zombies. The next shotgun ammo type is the shotgun breaching slug. This ammo does 96 points of damage. It only shoots out 1 pellet because it is a slug. It deals 80 block damage, gets plus 1,000 damage to doors or wood, and has a very limited effective range of only 2 meters. And the last shotgun ammo type is the AP slug. This also deals 96 points of damage, only has 1 pellet because it is a slug. It decreases the target's armor rating by 20%. It has target penetration of 2, which is pretty cool. Deals 80 block damage, but also increases the degradation of your weapon by 30%. It also has a much higher effective range of 9 blocks instead of 5 for the standard and only 2 for the breaching round. Next up, let's take a look at rocket launcher ammo. First one we have is rocket HE ammo. This deals 420 points of explosive damage, 2,500 block damage, and has an explosion radius of 5. Next up, we have the rocket frag ammo. This does 700 explosion damage, but only 20 block damage with an explosion radius of 6. This ammo is much better at taking down the zombie jerks because you don't have to worry about it damaging your structures. Next up, let's take a look at robotic turret ammo. Your standard robotic turret ammo has a ranged damage of 11, block damage of 1, and an effective range of 10. Next up is the robotic turret shells ammo. This ammo deals 2 damage per pellet, fires out 8 pellets, does not do any block damage, and has an effective range of only 6 blocks. It also increases the target armor rating by 40%. And lastly, we have the AP robotic turret ammo. This has a ranged damage of 11. It decreases the target armor rating by 20%. It has target penetration of 1, only deals 1 block damage, has an effective range of 11, but degrades your weapon 30% faster. Next up, let's look at the bow ammunition. The first bow ammo type is the stone arrow. The stone arrow has a ranged damage of 25, a block damage of 1, and a projectile velocity of 45. Next up is the iron arrow. This has a ranged damage of 28, block damage of 3, and a projectile velocity of 50. Then we have the steel arrow. Steel arrows have a range damage of 31. They have a target armor of negative 20%, so they reduce target armor by 20%. That's pretty cool. Block damage of 5, and a projectile velocity of 55. Next up, we have the flaming arrow. This has a range damage of 25, block damage of 6, fire damage of 120, a duration of 14 seconds, and projectile velocity of 40. And the last ammo type for the the bow is the exploding arrow. This deals 180 explosion damage, 2 block damage, has an explosion radius of 4, and a projectile velocity of 40. And the last ammo type we're going to take a look at is the crossbow ammo type, starting with the stone crossbow bolt. This has a range damage of 32, a block damage of 1, and a projectile velocity of 67. Next up is iron crossbow bolts. These have range damage of 38, block damage of 6, and a projectile velocity of 75. Next we have the steel crossbow bolt. This has a range damage of 45, a target armor minus 20% bonus, so that decreases target armor rating by 20%, block damage of 6, and a projectile velocity of 82. Next up we have the flaming crossbow bolt. This deals 38 ranged damage, 6 block damage, 120 fire damage for a duration of 14 seconds, and a projectile velocity of 50. And the last one is the exploding crossbow bolt. This deals 250 explosion damage, 2 block damage, has an explosion radius of 4, and a projectile velocity of 45. Now before we test out this ammunition, I did want to take this opportunity to say, if you find this video helpful and or enjoyable, join the Sav Nation by clicking that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you do not miss a single one of our tutorial videos. I release videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. But now, let's get back to it. Okay, first up is the shotgun ammo. We're going to start with the regular ammo. So let's go ahead and get one round loaded in here. We are going to start off with a bear. It has 1,600 hit points. We're going to shoot this bad boy right in the butt and see how much damage the regular round does. Alright, so it looks like that round did 160 points of damage. Next up, let's try the breaching round. Now for this one, we're going to get nice and close, and we're going to shoot him right in the rear end. And that ammunition did 150 points of damage to the bear. Next up, we are going to try the AP round. Let's see how much damage this bad boy does. And again, it did 150 points of damage. Now we're going to try those same rounds against a heavily armored zombie. We're going to go with the demo zombie here, and let's see how much damage the regular shotgun shell does to the demo. Alright, so this demo took 60 points of damage. Next up is the breaching round. So again, we need to get close because it only has a 2-meter range on it. So let's get nice and close and see how much damage this does. And again, it did 60 points of damage. And last but not least, it is time to try the AP slug. Let's see how much damage this bad boy does. And again, it only did 60 points of damage. So it looks like the shotgun ammo is just as bugged as the rest of the ammo. Next up, we're going to try the junk turret ammo. So first up is regular junk turret ammo. Let's see how much damage this does to the bear. Alright, regular junk turret ammo did 20 points of damage. Next up, we are going to test out the shotgun ammo for the turret. Let's see how much damage this does to the bear. And that did 24 points of damage. And lastly, we're going to try the AP round on the bear with the turret. Let's see how much damage this bad boy does. And once again, it did 20 points of damage. Next up is against a heavily armored zombie. Let's try it against the demo here. First up, regular turret ammo. Regular turret ammo did 8 points of damage. Next up, let's try the shotgun ammo with the turret against the demo. See how much damage this does. And shotgun ammo also did 8 points of damage. And last but not least, trying out the AP round for the turret. Let's see how much damage this bad boy does. And again, it only did 8 points of damage. Now it is time to get a little bit explosive. Now this one might be fun. The problem with the rocket launcher is it's tough to get exactly the same test results time after time after time, but we're going to do our absolute best. So we have our bear here. We're going to shoot the bear in the butt and see how much damage this does. I am in God mode, so I can take this hit. Hopefully it doesn't damage my rifle range too much, but but let's just see how much damage the regular rocket ammo does to the bear. All right, so that did 694 points of damage. Next up is the rocket frag ammo. So let's go ahead and shoot the bear in the butt and see how much damage this bad boy does. Boom! Holy cow! That did 975 damage. Now let's try it against the demo. Now I am really nervous about this. Demos do not do well with explosion damage. The explosion usually sets off their button. But maybe we'll be able to catch before he explodes how much damage this actually does to him. Let's find out. Here we go, guys. All right, so he didn't, the button did not go off. That's good. And we did 534 points of damage. And next up, let's try the rocket frag against the demo here. Again, let's hope that the explosion doesn't set off his button, but we will find out. Let's see how much damage this bad boy does. Holy cow! 810 damage. That is pretty darn sweet. Next up, let's test out our bow. So first up, we have our stone arrow. Let's see how much damage this does. And it did 28 points of damage. Next up, let's test the iron arrow. See how much damage this does. Iron arrow did 33 points of damage. Now let's test out the steel arrow. Let's see how much damage this bad boy does. And the steel arrow did 38 points of damage. Next up, let's try the flaming arrow. Not bad. So that did 199 points of damage. I did go ahead and let him burn out. So that's regular damage on top of fire damage as well. So a total of 199 damage. And last but not least, let's try the exploding arrows. Exploding arrows did 201 point of damage. Next up, let's try this against a demo. First up, stone arrow. Let's see how much damage the stone arrow does. Stone arrow did 11 points of damage. Now let's test out the iron arrow. Iron arrow did 13 points of damage. Now let's try the steel arrow. And the steel arrow did 20 points of damage. All right, so it looks like the arrows might actually be working properly. Next up is the flaming arrow. And the flaming arrow did 175 points of damage. Again, that is base damage and fire damage combined. And the last ammo type is the exploding arrow. Let's give this bad boy a shot. Again, hopefully this explosion doesn't set off his button, but it might. Let's see what happens. All right, so it did not hit his button. That's good. And it did 131 points of damage. And the last weapon we want to test is the crossbow. Let's check out the bolts and see how much damage the bolts do. First up, stone bolt against bear. And that did 40 points of damage. Now let's try the iron crossbow bolt. See how much damage this bad boy does. And the iron crossbow bolt did 50 points of damage. Next up is the steel crossbow bolt. Let's see how much damage this bad boy does. And the steel bolt did 60 points of damage. Next up is the flaming crossbow bolt. Let's see how much damage this does. And altogether, this did 216 points of damage. This is base damage and fire damage combined. And last ammo type against the bear is the exploding crossbow bolt. Let's see how much damage this bad boy does. And the exploding crossbow bolt did 290 points of damage. Now let's try this ammo against a demolition zombie. So first up, stone crossbow bolt. Let's see how much damage this does. That did 16 points of damage. Next up is the iron crossbow bolt. Let's see how much damage this bad boy does. And that did 20 points of damage. Next on the list is the steel crossbow bolt. Let's see how much damage this bad boy does. And the steel bolt did 31 points of damage. Now let's try the flaming crossbow bolt. Let's see how much damage this bad boy does. And the flaming crossbow bolt did 191 points of damage. And last but not least, we have the exploding crossbow bolt. Let's see how much damage this bad boy does. And that did 189 points of damage. Some very interesting results yet again. So it does look like the majority of the ammunition is bugged. The special stats for the ammo just do not work. It did, however, seem like the arrows and the crossbow bolts were working a little bit better than the other ammo types. I may be mistaken about that, but I do believe that they were working a little bit better than some of the firearm ammunition. I believe that to be the case, but I could be, like I said, I could be mistaken on that. If I am, let me know in the comments below. Maybe I missed it and my math wasn't exactly 100% correct, which has been known to happen. I hope you folks have found this video helpful and or enjoyable. If you did and you'd like to see more, I've created a very special playlist of game mechanic tutorials that you can access by clicking the box in the top right corner of the screen. I also wanted to mention that the Savin's World Discord server is now up and running. You can find the invite link in the description of this video. Swing on by and meet some of the other members of the Sav Nation. We'd love to see you there, folks. But for now, this is Saven saying thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me in Savin's World. And remember, the average gamer is always king of the hill on the bell curve.